Hi, everyone, and welcome to A Gem of a Secret podcast. My name's Donna.
And my name is Coco Jem Holiday.
How are you doing tonight, Coco?
I'm feeling like an ASMR vibe.
Really?
I just really love you guys.
Listeners, do you feel the tingles?
Two people just left. They're like,
yeah,
no,
we got new mics, so these are fun to play around with.
Kind of, so we can kind of hear each other now because normally we can't.
You can feel all of the grovel in my voice.
Oh my gosh, what is it called? Vocal fry.
Vocal fry. Yeah.
It's funny when I drink a lot, it actually just comes out organically. It shows, and it drives Autumn crazy. She's like, I hate your vocal fry. She's like, it's funny, but I just hate it. I'm like, is everybody having a good time?
What are you guys up to?
Yeah, it's very Tina Belchery. That reminds me. I don't know when this episode's coming out, but we because we're actually ahead, listeners.
Yeah.
The Painted with Raven got nominated for a Wowie, I think is what it's called.
Oh yeah, the Wowie Awards.
Yeah. The cast of Painted with Raven got nominated.
That's cool.
I think is really cool.
Yeah, that's really neat.
Because we know flawless.shade on Instagram.
Yes, we do, and we also interviewed Jordan here on this podcast.
Oh, we did interview Jordan.
Yeah.
Hopefully in the future, and actually the funny thing is this episode might have released at that time, is a fan of our show is actually Flawless Shade. She listens to every episode and she wants to be interviewed for our podcast, but we are going to try to get her for the in-person interview version of it because she lives in Portland.
I think we need her on here.
Yeah.
Regardless of what version it is, I would love to have flawless.shade.
Love to have flawless.shade.
On Instagram. On our podcast.
Yes. On Instagram, on our podcast. So what are you wearing this evening?
Well, Coco, I am wearing a bubblegum dress, but it's chewed, drippy bubblegum.
Ew. I mean, looks couture.
Yeah, it's melted plastic, and then I just look like I've been kind of disposed in a waste bin. And chewed up and spit out because I feel that way.
I feel like you're going through something.
I mean, I'm living in a capitalist system, so yes, I am always going through crisis.
Always.
What about you, Coco?
I'm dressed as the weeds of the wedding flowers. I'm dressed as baby's breath.
Oh.
I have little pieces sticking out everywhere. That's what's in my hair right now. It doesn't look like I just threw myself on the ground and rolled in the garden.
I dig it. There's a lyric from a Peaches song. If you don't know who Peaches is, listeners, then you should look her up. She's very sexual. But she says, oh yes, just one request. If you bring flowers, I like baby's breath. And I never understood that because baby's breath is awful.
It is disgusting.
Yeah. So why baby's breath?
I don't.
The song was called Mommy Complex, so I guess that makes sense.
Oh, maybe. Oh, baby's breath.
Mommy,
baby's breath. Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
I was like, no, those are weeds. My mom had, but this is a funny thing. So my mom and I love roses and all of her brides. So this is funny. This is so classy. I would have loved to have a wedding like this. So my mom at her wedding, which actually I've never said this on the podcast before. When my mom got married to my dad, all the men had canes and top hats. And all of the women had beautiful sun hat kind of things. And umbrellas.
That's cool.
But the umbrellas, they weren't. You couldn't open the umbrellas. All the umbrellas were full of roses.
Oh.
And my mom's umbrella, so canes, obviously.
Yeah.
So my mom's umbrella was full of some kind of flower and a lot of baby's breath.
Oh,
is what it
nice.
was full of, and it was actually really gorgeous. My parents are so classy when it comes to cleaning up. And my dad does look like a pimp, and my mom very much looked like a streetwalker back in the day. And but they cleaned up nice. And the only reason, there's only one picture from the wedding album, because they got married in a church.
Yeah.
They can't wear their hats in church. So even though they had canes and top hats, they didn't actually have the canes and top hats up there while they were getting married.
Yeah.
Only the women had their umbrellas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so my mom was like, yeah, this is what they wore. And it's it was so beautiful. It was a really
Wait, they didn't even have the canes in the church?
I didn't see any pictures of the canes.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know why that was. But yeah. This is a long story about baby's breath. We're on this episode today, we're actually going to be talking about how drag saved lives.
Yes.
A little bit.
It's a lifesaver.
And we're actually going to talk about, because I know that you all know that I did that COVID vaccine event where drag literally saved lives. We're going to talk about how drag saved our lives a little bit here.
Yeah.
In different capacities. And I'll have Donna go first.
Drag definitely helped me understand my gender identity better.
Tea.
You know, I'm a gender fluid individual, and I definitely had a lot of like crises in like thinking about my gender at first when I started drag, because there were some times when I was like, do I want to transition? Like, what is the deal with me? You know, like, what is this, and why am I feeling so empowered and this kind of like euphoria from drag? And it got me to the point of just like understanding that femininity is something that I can like express freely and openly, and that it's not something I should be ashamed of. As a kid, I was so conditioned to not have it be a part of me because it was something I was very much shamed for. So drag helped me feel empowered in that way. And drag also introduced me to a shit ton of friends, so...
Yeah, without drag, I would have not met Donna, Autumn, my husband, my closest friends in my circle right now, like Flawless Shade. I wouldn't have met Lexi without drag, Lexi Siren, Sequin McQueen, Babylon Brooks. I wouldn't have met any of the people that I consider some of my closest friends without drag, actually, because drag is what, you know, pulled us together, and it's actually the commonality thing that we have in common, which is beautiful. Drag gave me a lot of great things. I think how it saved me, actually, I will say the biggest thing about saving me is the fact that drag introduced me to Adam, because he came into me in Donna's karaoke show. But I think what drag really saved me is it gave me an outlet. I felt like I was screaming inside to like have a voice, and drag is actually what pushed me into activism.
Oh, okay.
Because drag, like we've said on this podcast a billion times, drag queens are at the forefront of every movement, and drag gave me a voice in my community, and it put me in front of the right people to say the things I wanted to say. It gave me a microphone that I still use today to say, you know, Black Trans Lives Matter or something to that effect, you know, just in front of people. And it's given me the connections to have that voice in the community in the way that I want to.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah. It gave me a voice that I didn't know that I needed. And I know that we said on an earlier episode, you know, we did our whole, like, what would you say to yourself as a kid if you were on Drag Race, the finale or whatever. And we don't need to go back and listen to that episode, listeners.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I forgot about was this part, that like the voice, like drag does lend itself to giving you a voice in different capacities for gender and sexual orientation. And God, I really wish I would have found drag sooner, as it's the only creative thing that I do in my life. Because like even for my work and like my professional boy career and all other things that I do, like I can't paint for anything. Like I'm not really a great actor.
It's more analytical.
Yeah, everything I do in my life is analytical, and even the way they paint my face is like paint by numbers, and so I'm not really creative in those ways. But that's why I can make a good mix, because that's like analytical. So. Yeah, it gave me the only thing that I'm good at creatively.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. So Donna.
Yeah.
I just wanted to know how are you doing this evening?
Well, I'm doing really good. We have a special guest for this next portion of the podcast, so I'm just going to tell you now. I hope you like it. Bye.
Bye.
Drag Danger Zone is a monthly showcase featuring new and established performers every month, every fourth Thursday at Mississippi Pizza, located at 3552 North Mississippi Avenue. This fun cabaret variety show is hosted by Marla Darling, Valerie DeVille, and DJ Aurora. For ticket info, find us on Instagram at Drag Danger Zone PDX or Facebook at Drag Danger Zone. And get into the zone. The Drag Danger Zone, that is.
Hey, are you kind of sick and tired of going downtown to watch quality drag shows? We're bringing you a specialty drag show to your neighborhood bar at the Montevilla Saloon. It is every last Sunday of the month at 7 o'clock p.m., so you can see downtown drag just in your backyard. Located at 8012 Northeast Gleason Street. Once again, that's 8012 Northeast Gleason Street. Be on the lookout for more information.
It's a podcast with Coco and Donatella podcast. Tune into What They Tell You podcast with Coco and Donatella podcast.
Well, Donna can't be here today because she decided to step out of the room, but instead I'm bringing on one of my Camp Wanakiki siblings, Zenon TV.
Hello.
Hi, Zenon. How are you?
I am so good. This drag festival is extraordinary, and I'm having such a good time, especially because I get to reconnect with you.
Thank you.
And everybody else.
Yeah, absolutely. So we were on Camp Wanakiki Season 2 together. And so I think the fans would want to know immediately, because they might not know who you are if they go to the website. Why did Vivica Galactica change into Zenon TV?
A great question, and I think that you might be able to have like certain understanding about this. But once I saw myself on that platform to where I wasn't in control of it, I got to see how I perceive myself in a certain way. I didn't know who that person was. I didn't know the kind of drag that I wanted to do. I didn't know who I was in or out of drag. And so since I've gone through the process of like having my weight loss surgery, learning a lot about myself, and living in New York City longer and having some time during the pandemic, I really figured out the kind of drag that I want to keep moving forward with. And Zenon TV is harkening back to like my childhood, which is my nostalgia, which is Zenon Girl of the 21st Century.
Is it really from that? I always wondered if it was.
It's Zenon Girl of the 21st Century, and then so I've always knew that I was going to spell it that way because of Zenon, and then TV from Mike TV, who is from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, which is my favorite movie as a child. And then, of course, because I'm a campy drag queen, like, Zenon TV just rolls off the tongue. So I like having reasons for everything. And so it's like, you kill two birds with one stone. So it's meaning and
Zenon
also...
on TV, and then obviously Zenon Girl in 21st Century. Yeah, that's actually really clever, too, because, like, to bring it back to who you are, because like my drag name is just a culmination of things that I love, which obviously are not a pun. Like I love Jem from Jem and the Holograms,
yes,
and I love Jennifer Holiday from Dreamgirls. So I totally get it, because like those, when you hear those names, when people are introducing you on stage, it always like gives you that like those tickles or whatever.
Yep.
Was it hard to change your name after being on the third most like popular drag reality like competition series in the world?
I would say that it wasn't. Like, I reached out and I talked to Ginger Minge, who is one of my drag moms, and I was like, do you think this is a good idea? And she's like, I was like, is that okay? And the only feedback that she gave me was just don't make it a habit. Don't change your drag name all the time. And once I knew and had Zenon down, like, of course I wasn't going to change it, because it really, like, fits me and who I was. So, having it happen during the pandemic was certainly great, because like it gave me time to be able to really cultivate who I was, and come out of the pandemic as we started doing live stuff again as this entirely new entity, while I've had time to continue practice my face, to continue to like understand makeup and costuming more. And so now, yesterday was actually my 2-year anniversary of changing my drag name.
Really?
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. And like, it has just been like really great knowing who I am, knowing the numbers, what I want to do. Like, I love nostalgia, but I also love just camp and being stupid and not taking myself too seriously.
Yeah, as you should.
Yeah.
Because like the thing is, like, I always feel like when so Vivian and I talked about this as well on this podcast, that sometimes people consider camp to be a thing that it isn't, in the sense of like they expect like a glam queen can't be a camp queen. They don't expect that camp can be too polished. They think that camp is stupid without context sometimes, and like they'll wrap around camp into these things that it's really not. Like, and the fact is, like, I think camp doesn't have to take itself too seriously, but when you see how seriously
people do camp even when it's stupid, you're just like, okay, because like, so I have to tell you, listeners, so I got to watch Zenon TV perform. I think I've actually seen you do that mix before, and it's like a mix of like 90s like TV shows and whatever, like theme songs, and it's like really, and like popular music, and it's really great. And apparently she can stunt now with these cartwheels. I saw that, girl. So good for you.
Just you wait till later tonight.
I'm doing nothing special later tonight. And then literally, but I was seriously just like so gagged and gooped because like the lip sync was on point, like the entertainment was great. And honestly, the mix is incredibly stupid. Like it's so fun and stupid. Like it just reminds me of like Ivana from Camp Wanakee season 2. She also has like a really long mix like that. That's
Her Broadway mix?
Her Broadway mix, which is so stupid.
It is.
It's the dumbest thing ever. And
I love it.
I love it. And I love it. I love it when it's like stupid intentionally. Like you're like, oh, this is like, I love when you're like, as a camp queen, you'll be making a mix. And you're like, oh, this is so stupid. Oh, I love this.
Yes, I do that all the time. Like, oh, this is stupid. Oh, God, this is so stupid.
So stupid.
And then I'm like, it's exactly what it needs to be.
Oh my gosh, it's a whole journey, and I love it. So, how long? So to get my listeners to know who you are, so let's go do some history. How long have you been performing in drag?
I've been doing drag for 5.5 years. I consistently. So the first time that I ever saw drag was, oh gosh, probably back in like 2010, 2011. I was in Laramie, Wyoming, where I came out. And the first time that I ever saw a drag queen in person was this queen named Mardi Gras. She's like 450 pounds, 6'6", like in heels, and she was doing a bingo fundraiser that they do every year for the Wyoming AIDS Foundation. Wow. And I had never seen a drag queen in person before, and I saw that, and it was just incredibly stellar. And then as like I go back in my history, I think the first time that I ever did drag was I was a zombie drag queen for a Halloween once in Laramie.
Really?
And I forgot about that, but I don't count that as like my drag birthday because I wasn't intending to do drag ever. I just wanted to be like a dead, I don't know, it was weird. And then I started drag. I made my debut on June 11th of 2016.
You even know the day. That's crazy.
Oh, the day is something that I will always remember, and it's because I made my debut the same night that Pulse happened.
Really? Oh my god!
You didn't know this?
No, I didn't know. Well, I mean, I've known of you, of course,
Right.
but like a start.
Yeah. Oh,
obviously.
That was my start. And so, like, I lived in Laramie, Wyoming. I was a theater gay, so like I didn't have a queer community.
Sure.
And then I went and lived in Greeley for a hot minute, so you know what it's like living in podunk cow towns in Colorado.
God, Greeley.
And then it's the opposite of Hawaii.
Tea.
And so what ended up happening is like I met my ex online on OkCupid, which brought me to Denver, but I was in this like heteronormative relationship. All of our friends were straight. Like we had a few gay friends, but like there were also heteronormative gay friends. And so like I didn't know what a queer community was until I started drag in 2016.
That is crazy to think about.
Yeah, and I was 28. Like, and now I'm 33, 5 years later, and I have immersed myself in this culture of drag, and it's been so amazing. And it's because of, like, in a weird, sad, twisted world, it's because of the Pulse shooting. Like, I started drag because I was a delegate for Bernie Sanders in 2016, and I was raising my money. I was raising money for a fundraiser that I did to be able to help me get to Philadelphia when it happened.
Sure.
And I got home, and I was scrolling through, and I saw Cynthia Lee Fontaine make a post that if you're on Pulse Nightclub, you need to run. And I think it was because she was there. She was supposed to be there.
I think she was there.
Yeah, I think she had like just left or something like that.
Oh yeah, something. Yeah.
And so I saw her make that Facebook post, and I was like, "What is this?" And of course, it was my debut, so like I couldn't sleep. And then that happens, and so you can't sleep even more because you're like, "What the fuck is happening?"
Yeah.
And then so the next day was candlelight vigils, and the day after that was anti-gun rallies, and then that next weekend for us in Denver was Pride, and so. I saw the community that was around me in drag because at that point, like I had started to watch season 8 of RuPaul's Drag Race. Like I was loving Sasha Velour, all that thing.
Yeah.
And I started seeing the people from tracks when I would go there and watch it. And then I would see I saw the same people at the candlelight vigils and at the rallies and at Pride.
Oh, wow.
And then that's when I recognized that first week that there is a community of queerness, and drag in and of itself is a community, but it's also part of this overarching queer community that I had no idea existed, because I grew up in the church. I grew up in Longmont, Colorado, and Laramie, Wyoming, and I was born in Nebraska. So everything was so foreign to me. And so drag has really been this amazing lifesaver that really showed me that you can change your life, and you can really discover who you are later on in life. So even though I came out when I was 21 and I started drag when I was 28, it's this weird mix of I am a late bloomer in some cases, but it's also proof that you can do whatever you want whenever you want with life.
That's really deep, honestly. Gosh, that'd be so weird, that being your start of something.
Yeah.
And yeah, I do remember, and the thing is, I actually think on this podcast we've never really talked about Pulse before. And so for the listeners out there, Pulse Nightclub obviously is a nightclub in Florida, and there was a shooting that happened, and many people lost their lives. And it
49.
was also, yeah, and it was also their Latinx night, their Latin night at the club, and so most of the people were obviously brown folks as well, which is obviously incredibly heartbreaking as well. Trans folks included in that as well, and it was a really the queer community across the entire country actually felt that wave.
Because it could have been us.
It could have been us, because as queer people, we use queer nightclubs as our place to feel safe. It's our place to go on a date. It's our place to kiss. It's our place to hold hands. In the straight community, people often forget that one of the things about straight privilege is PDA and showing love in any kind of fashion to another person. And so gay nightclubs kind of give us that ability to just be ourselves and be human beings and whatever. And so somebody literally robbed us from safe spaces in a way that was really heartbreaking. And so honestly, that's an interesting, I never knew that about you. And you're already kind of a positive person, which we're going to get to later. Actually, just a funny, so I have to say this actually, just to lighten it up a little bit. I was telling the Sugar Bakers is people who run Camp Kiki, and I was telling them today, I was I love Zenon so much. I was we are the antithesis of of each other's characters. I was like, she is 100% the opposite of who I am as a person. And I was and I don't know what it is. I was but I admire her so much, even though she is not like me at all. It's true. So let's get a little bit more to your history. So why did you, so you started drag in Colorado. Why did you want to move to, I remember seeing this post, and I just want you to share it with our listeners.
Yeah.
Why did you move to New York the first time?
So I moved to New York the first time because I remember I was auditioning for Drag Race. I was such a goober back then. I was why did I ever think that I would be good enough to be on Drag Race? But I was auditioning for Drag Race. I was getting everything ready. And I lived in this shitty apartment complex that I didn't trust having packages shipped to me there. And so there was an Amazon locker box at the 7-Eleven across the street. And I went across the street to go pick up this wig that I was going to attempt to make a roller set out of, which was a bad idea. And so I went and I picked up the wig, and I crossed back over the street, and I jaywalked, and I wasn't over a crosswalk, and I literally put my headphones in my ears, and I was looking up at the clouds, and I stepped off a median, and I got hit by a car. And
what?
That's exactly what happened. And so I don't remember getting hit. I don't remember the CAT scan. I don't remember the ambulance ride. I don't remember any x-rays or anything like that. My mom showed up at the hospital, and I was a John Doe, and because I called my dad in the ambulance, Dad, I got hit by a car, but I didn't have my wallet with me because I was just going across the street, right? And so I was a John Doe, but because I called my dad, and my mom went to Denver Health, and she ended up finding me, but my grandma and my little brother went down there, and it was wild, and I was very concussed because I hit the car hood, and then I also hit the ground afterward.
God.
I had a pretty bad concussion, and the doctors couldn't bring me out of it, and so I was in this weird state, and I remember puking over the side of the bed, and I felt like I was a part of the poltergeist, like looking back at it.
Oh my gosh.
And my mom, when the doctor wasn't looking, opened up a little bottle of like essential oils and put them under my nose, and it pulled me right out of whatever funk I was in.
Wow.
And I ended up walking away from the hospital that day.
Wow.
But the reason why I moved to New York is because after I had gotten hit by the car, which was just after I had broken up with my partner of 5 years, I was like, I at that point had not lived a life worth living, in my opinion. And I said that I wanted to start living a life that I would be proud of, and I wanted to have a legacy. And so I had Weirdo at the time, and I was like, I can't be stuck in Denver. I want to restart in a certain way. And so I did. I moved to New York City, and I was kind of thriving in New York for a little bit. And one day like Ginger Minge told me about Camp Wanikiki at the DragCon in New York. And it had been like in the back of my mind for a long time. And she said that I should audition. And I did about 3 months into living in New York. And I auditioned in Times Square at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I sent it the last day that they were due.
Wow.
And now here I am.
The rest is history.
The rest is history.
That's crazy. So I do know that you did move back to Colorado. Why did you move back to Colorado?
Because I had just gotten fired from my job right before the Panini. And
The Pandemic Lovato.
Yes, the Pandemic Lovato, the Panda Express. I had just gotten fired for giving a customer a free broken cookie. And I was like, great, I'm going to do drag full time. Perfect.
Yeah.
And then, of course, everything happened. I had no idea that I was like working for them long enough to be able to afford unemployment and be specific. And if I would have been able to afford unemployment because of, like how all that works.
Right.
And I had been fired before the pandemic started. So essentially what happened was I didn't have any idea if I was going to be able to make any income, and I panicked, and Dixie Crystals in Colorado offered me her basement to live in for free for 3 months.
Oh, wow.
And so I was like, okay, I'll take it. And it was wild. Like, I remember, like, I sent all of the belongings that I cared about in the Priority Express packages from the USPS, and I sent like 6 of those back. And so like I got rid of everything when I moved back to Colorado. Wow. And I kind of did the same thing when I moved back. But
why did you move back to New York?
I moved back to New York because I had learned. So I had a muggle job, a really good muggle job, and I was making decent money in it. But I got gaslit real bad because, and come to find out, I learned within the past couple months that I have ADHD. And there was a big education aspect and stuff like that I was supposed to learn that I didn't handle very well because I had to be an online banker essentially for people, and I didn't know how to like answer the questions correctly, like in terms of like following the law, especially for banks and finances and FDIC or whatever.
Right.
And I was gaslit so bad by my boss that I decided to quit. And then when I quit, I handed in my resume, or I handed my resignation letter, and because I resigned, they were like, we're going to accept this, but you're not going to come back to work, but we're going to pay you for 2 weeks. And because I got a job before I quit, I was able to start that job right away. And so I got 2 paychecks at the same time. And at that time, it was in a really flexible spot because I had some really shitty living situations in Colorado, in Boulder specifically. And I was either going to get a 1-bedroom apartment, which was $1,300, or well, that was it. Like, that's the thing. And like that apartment was like taking so long to get figured out. And then it was like, I'm going to have to get another car. I'm going to have to get my license again. I'm going to have to get insurance and all this stuff. And so everything was piling up. And then everything hit, and I was working at Whole Foods at 4 o'clock in the morning, and one day I felt this like I felt this entity come in and like grab me by my shirt and just pull me, and I knew that was New York calling me back. It was a really weird, like, intense feeling that like it's hard to describe, but happened in like a sixth sense kind of way.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, and that happened the same time. Then I got the same paycheck on the same day for both jobs. Wow. And so I was like. So I used that to be able to do my deposit and my flights back to New York. And I've been back since February.
So where did you stay when you moved back to New York?
I found a place on Craigslist in Hell's Kitchen.
Absolutely.
And it was with two wonderful gay men that were so great. Mm-hmm. I love living in queer, just with other queer people. Mm. It's so phenomenal.
Yeah. Wow, that is... How long were you in Colorado for then?
I was in Colorado for 10 months.
10 months?
I was like, get me out of here. And like, you and I both have feelings on Colorado drag and how toxic it is.
Yes.
And I still love it. Like, I'm going back in June, I'm doing a show, and I'm very excited about it. But I tried to claim space in that scene, and it was very apparent that it wasn't worth staking any claim in that scene anymore. And so I kind of made my own little scene in Boulder and started planting some seeds, really making it happen, and I enjoyed it. But at the end of the day, once New York called, because when I left New York, I never thought that I would ever be able to make it back, because I was so ashamed that I left New York, especially during a pandemic. But I had no idea what was going to happen with finances. It was just me. And it was very difficult to do that. And so I had a lot of shame. I deal with a lot of shame. Who doesn't? But
yes.
I never thought that I would be able to go back or be welcomed back, but I was.
That's so
and cool. Going back as Zenon really kind of helped me create this vigor and this newfound confidence in who I am as 100 pounds less of a person,
Wait, when was your weight loss surgery though?
I had my weight loss surgery on Christmas Eve of 2019.
Wait, where were you living though? Were you in Colorado?
New York.
Okay.
I was in New York, and what ended up happening is I got it on Christmas Eve, and you're generally good to rejoin the population without super intense foodstuffs after 3 months. And so that 3-month mark after having a surgery on Christmas Eve is March. And so I had 1 weekend of freedom where I went to Baltimore and I performed down there, and it was a great time. And then I went up to Boston and I performed at Boston, and I was part of the last cast that ever performed at Machine before it ended up getting shut down.
Wow.
And so I got to perform that, and then the pandemic happened basically while I was there. And then that Wednesday is when everything just went zoop. And so I had a week or a week and a half of this new person of losing weight, discovering who I am, and then the pandemic shut everything down again.
Yeah.
But in a lot of ways, the pandemic, it is and has been influential in terms of giving me the opportunity to find silver linings in everything. And definitely one of the biggest silver linings has been the ability to really hone in on my drag and who I want to be and who Zenon is. And I have circled and spiraled around the concept of being, originally I was the stepmom from outer space, and once I started losing weight and started feeling sexy and being able to move around and stuff again, I didn't want to pigeonhole myself in being that matronly character anymore, even though that's very much still my my love, and I always I love on people a lot. But as I continue to perform and be Zenon and be Z and be discovered and seen as that, I really was well, I want to keep doing different things. And so that's how I ended up coming up with being New York City's channel surfing sweetheart, is Zenon TV.
Oh, that's cool. That's a good idea.
Yeah, so I can do a bunch of different kinds of drag. I can do, and I've been really loving punk music lately. Like,
You have
just like getting
that
into it.
pink hair that you were wearing actually seemed very punk rock, and I was like, Zenon has some skills in here. And actually, this is actually just a funny story, and I think it's a behind the scenes tea that I want to give people listeners tonight. So, when we got booked for the Austin Drag Festival, like I didn't recognize there was supposed to be a Camp Wanakiki showcase, and it is happening. But I thought it was going to be an additional performance for the Camp Wanakiki cast members. It's just part of our performances. And so I didn't bring a campy number for it. So I had actually just changed my number this morning actually to be more campy because the sugar makers were like, they're like, you need to do more camp because like the number I was going to do was incredibly political. And the funny thing about political drag is it isn't always camp, and like unless you make it camp and over the top, but I feel like political numbers for me have to be incredibly serious. And so I changed my number completely to talking about heartbreak and love because I can make those campy as shit, and I'm singing some songs. And so like it's just some behind the scenes see that I did change my song literally several hours ago to be like, okay, let's make it camp because the sugar makers are like, it needs to be camp, and I was like, fine.
So my number tonight is going to be a physical mix, and it's physical with Dua Lipa and physical with Olivia Newton-John, but it also has Legally Blonde the musical, and it also has Work Bitch from Britney Spears, and it's this like 6.5 minute number song, and I never would have done this like losing all this weight, discovering who I am, but I love this mix because I do fucking burpees during it. Like I do burpees, I run, I like exercise during it, and like I never ever would have been able to do that before. Even when I was on camp. And so, like, I'm excited to be able to bring it, but it's going to be super fucking campy and stupid, and I can't wait for it.
Yeah, that's so exciting. I because I got to watch Zenon. What was that? That was today, wasn't it?
Yeah, today's been a very long day.
It's been a long day.
It feels like
heavily.
camp.
It doesn't feel like camp.
Drinking heavily and long days in drag.
And it's true, and I got to watch it and I thought it was fantastic. So a little bit about you. So you are one of those people who, we talked about this, and I kind of want you to go over it in the podcast again. You kind of talked about how you like to have those moments in every show that's like manifesting and like more positive and things like that in the middle of drag shows. Because you did talk about how one of the passions that you have is like hosting drag shows these days. And so tell us about that moment that you're talking about, those educational, those enlightening moments, those learning moments.
Yeah, and a lot of times what it is you take moments from like a song or seeing somebody's face or seeing somebody smile or just like recognize you're seeing. But for me, like there's always some sort of spark or inspiration that like as I'm thinking about something during a number or as I just see how good of a time people are having. Something that I don't know if it's because I'm from Colorado or if it's because I'm just this weird person, but like I love making eye contact with people, and I love like seeing them and celebrating them like who they are in that moment. And so during each one of my shows, when it comes to drag specifically, there are people that are like, you are here to see me. And they put that wall up, and then they're there. For me, I break all walls down when I'm in a drag show, especially my drag bingos, especially all my shows, honestly. But I really like connecting with people that are in my audience because at the end of the day, they're reaching into their wallet and they're giving me money. And I don't want people to think that I'm unapproachable. I want people to I want them to know that I'm very grateful that they're giving me their hard-earned money as a tip. And so through that, I pull them into it and I make them a part of the show. I get rid of all fourth walls, or like even the fourth wall. Like I talk to them, I see them, I look into their eyes. And I always want people to leave my shows feeling better or smiling when they leave, or like feeling better than they were when they came in. And so like that inspiration moment is just like, for me, I grew up in the church and I wanted to be a pastor for most of my life. And I had a lot of really shitty religious church trauma, And so in a way, I am still a pastor, but I am a pastor to people who need to hear it. And
that's insane.
It is really great because there's nothing that has to do with any sort of God. It is finding the love that we have for our community, but also finding the love that you have for ourselves. And the biggest thing that I talk about consistently during the moments, especially right now, during the shitty political times that we're in, but also with the pandemic and, you know, like weight that we may have put on and all the things, is just all about having grace.
Yeah.
Specifically like Dolly, you know, like what would Dolly do? Dolly would give grace, and that's all that you got to really know and do.
So I think this is the perfect time for me to talk about how effing positive Zenon is, and and the funny thing is, I do admire that about you on camp. And during the filming of camp, Zenon was doing these manifestation like poem moments in the morning that were actually really positive, and I really enjoyed them at the same time of feeling like my skin was burning while it was happening, because I just think that there's such a power that comes in that positivity that you have, like and I do, not to necessarily other people, but there's a power in being positive, choosing to be positive on outlooks that you're having in life and whatever, and listening to the messages of the universe as you manifest like things in the world. And I think that there is a lot of strength in that. As me on the side that's a little bit more pessimistic, glass half empty kind of person, which is funny. I think I see the glasses half full, but it's pretty much damn half empty as well. I mean, that's what a realist is. And so but I've also found there's courage that comes from identifying situations and, like, yeah, maybe having a social commentary on how it's existing and whatever, but I feel like both of our missions are the same. As we want to make the world better for everybody. Like, you basically just said it. Like, you know, you want people to leave your shows feeling like they've gotten something out of it. They're better coming to your show than when they came. And I feel that same way, too. I like to have people leaving my shows feeling a little bit more enlightened. Like, and I think that that's really important, especially because drag has always been... drag throughout time has always been like kind of a rebellion. It's always been a force.
Absolutely.
It's always been like it's always been a statement. It's always been taboo. It's always been something that's like pushing the envelope forward. Like it was funny, Davey Wavy said this, but I don't think they're the first one that said it. What drag queens at the forefront of every movement. And I think that that's incredibly true, because we get audiences that are underground, or we get straight audiences, or we get to be on a mic in front of people where we're actually allowed to say whatever the hell we usually want to. And sometimes we use our powers for good to change the world. And I think that's really beautiful that you're doing that in your incredibly positive way.
And one of the other things that I think is important to note specifically in that is, like, a lot of times I don't want people to... I think this is where our things might be a little bit different, is that, like, I don't necessarily want them to leave enlightened, like you said, like, and I understand why and that's very much your drag, like, especially with your political stance. I love it when they're aloof, or when they're like, I'm just real happy, and there's necessarily have to be a reason why, but like sometimes when they just leave a space with a smile on their face, and there doesn't always have to be a reason why, to know that, like, I can help facilitate that is really exciting.
That's actually really interesting. I don't know if I care as much about that as you do, so you're right on that point. I like how I use more, like, harsher terms than, you know, Z does. Because I want people to have a good time.
Yeah, of course.
Obviously.
But there is a time for education, and a lot of times you need to be educated when you're least expecting it, because people build walls. They're like, oh shit, Coco's getting on her soapbox.
She's getting on her soapbox. I do prepare people. I'm like, oh, this is the soapbox moment. Let's go for it.
Right, but then they're forced, and then they stay there, and then they have to listen. And listen, if anybody knows anything about Coco Jem Holiday, which I think a lot of those who listen to this podcast do, when she speaks, you gotta listen, because if you don't, you're in for a world of hurt.
That's so tea. Oh my god, that is masterful tea. I love that, and I do. And the funny thing is, like, I think that we really see each other. Like, I think that's why we've always been like. We've always been friends, because we see the other side of the fence and how the person is, like, navigating life through it. Because both of us have had some incredibly, like, horrible challenges in life, and like we've overcome in certain ways, and we've used drag as an outlet, obviously, to better ourselves. As a lot. Funny thing is, I always say this. I was like, nobody becomes a drag queen because they got their shit together.
Oh, amen. Why do you think I would be a full-time, part-time woman living in New York City? No, no one does that on purpose. Jesus. I knew I was going to never make it on Broadway, so now I dress like a woman, and I make more money than they do anyway.
I know, T, though, honestly. People even ask me, like, now that, like, my life is getting back on track, I have been asked by people, like, why do you still do drag? Like, if your, like, boy life is, like, going so well. And I was like, because the other thing about drag that nobody ever says, I was like, you have to be passionate about drag to do it, because it's a money hole.
You do, yeah. It's that whole concept that, like, the definition of drag is that it's a queer form of self-expression.
Yeah.
And, like, as straight as Metamorphosis may be, seeing her walk through that place tonight, you know that bitch is a little queer in a couple different ways. You know? I saw the way that she was strutting that place and swinging those hips. I was like, okay, honey.
Okay, this is what... Okay, let's back up. Because, so, Metamorphosis is here at the AllStar International Drag Festival. She's not performing. She's came with Deja.
Supporting sisters, which is great. That's what drag is about.
She's supporting sisters, but, like, and you can tell... And I think she has drag with her because, like, the Rue girls always have to have drag with them when they're traveling or whatever.
She's got this pussycat wig on. That Monet Exchange would be shaking in her boots over.
It's literally, she is wearing, and it looks like her natural hair too, which is so funny.
Does.
And I saw this very slender woman with this blonde little pussycat wig and this blue cocktail dress, and then, like, these chunky, like, kind of taller heels with, like, laces up the side and no tights at all. No breast form, no contour, nothing.
It was kind of pedestrian.
It was insanely pedestrian. It was so good. And I was like...
Someone get Coco Matrice on the phone.
I know, because it's true. Because here's the thing. I didn't recognize it was her at first. And she looks exactly like she does on the show. Because I was like,
she does.
I was like, who is this woman?
Yes.
And then somebody, like, was taking a picture with her. I was like, why is somebody taking a picture with this, like, pedestrian-ass person in the corner? And then I turned and I was like, oh, shit. And I was like, oh, it's Maddie Morpheus. And I went over and I said hi. And she's, of course, sweet as effing pie.
Yes.
But the way that she stands and the way that she walks and the way she shakes
oh
those hips.
My God.
I was like, I mean, straight people can do drag all day long. All drag is valid. Hashtag Paradox Ray is here, and I need to say that on the podcast. But at the same time, I was like, she's probably straight, but she got some swish.
Swish, swish, bitch.
Oh, God. I can't believe I didn't even... Oh, God. Whatever.
That's so funny.
So let's get into my last two questions that I have for you. So the one I asked you to think about is, what is a misconception that people have for you? Or have about you?
The biggest thing is, especially in New York, people take my niceness and my being genuine consistently as me being a fake person. People, it takes people a few times meeting me to recognize that, like, I am truly authentic in the way that I act, and my positivity isn't a mask. It's authentically who I am. And so that's the biggest misconception. And there are multiple people that are in my life that have told me that, like, they hated me the first moment they met me because they didn't trust me and they didn't believe me. Wow. But that's it. And I don't know if I don't know. Like, I'm a Leo, and so people, like, take the brashness of who I am as a person and just, like, my demeanor as fake, and it's not.
You know, actually, that's interesting, and it's not to boost my own horn on this. I never actually thought that about you, but I can 100%... So when I first moved to Portland, I've talked about it on this podcast before, one way that I bond with drag queens is I compliment the things I like about them. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I love your hair, I love your makeup, I love your costume, or something like that. It's always specific to things that I actually do like. It's also how I communicate with them.
Yes.
Especially because I just moved there and there's all these people I'm meeting, right? And so a lot of girls had said when I first moved to Portland, they're like, oh, you're really fake. And I was like, why? They're like, well, you, like, seem really gruff with this one person and whatever. And I was like, well, I'm gruff with my friends. Like, you know, like, we can joke and we can, you know, rib each other and whatever. And I was like, and she's like, but you just like just complimented this about me and it just seemed like it was really disingenuous. And I was like, no, it's genuine. That's the thing that I like about you. And I was like, to be honest, it's actually kind of shady because if I'm only complimenting this one thing about you, it means I don't like the other things. And like, but it's true. I like to compliment drag artists when they're like, I was like, oh girl, you served it. This performance was great and your makeup is awesome. And like, and those are all true things. And I can so that's why I can absolutely see how you being a positive person. And even though I never felt that from you in the years that we've known each other, I never felt like your positivity came from a place of insecurity. And I never felt like it came from a place of being like insecure, disingenuous, or any of that stuff. I always thought it was just real. Because of how you act in every other aspect when like the cameras aren't rolling, is you're still the same person in the sense of like how you treat people and you always want to be super helpful. Oh God, you're way too helpful. But like
Listen, if anyone ever auditions for Camp Waikiki, you go there and you be a camper, not a producer or a helper. You can put it on the pod.
Z was definitely trying to help every single person do everything they needed to. And they were good. Actually, the funny thing is I remember there was a conversation we had when we were walking back from like dinner. I remember we were in drag, so it might have been dinner, but maybe not. I mean, probably after a talent show or whatever. And we were just like kind of talking and whatever like that, and just how you were talking about insecurities and things like you were feeling and whatever, and I was talking about things I was feeling, and you were just like listening to every word and responding accordingly, you know, like a conversation. And that's how I knew that you were really genuine, because you just listened and you took what I said to like put it into your story to then also give me advice, and I was giving you advice, and like it was like a whole beautiful moment that we were having. And I was like, I'm going to be friends with this really, really incredibly irritating person for a long time.
And here we are.
And here we are, years later at the Austin Drag Festival, performing together as hashtag reality TV stars.
Believe it? Like, it's coming up in a few weeks. It will have been, May 10th is when we went.
Is it May 10th that we went?
May 10th is when we went of 2019. So it's coming up on like, or that's when we ended. Like the first, I think we ended May 10th. But like, it's coming up on 3 years since we've done that. Can you believe that?
And they keep talking about, I didn't actually ask Vivian this. No, I did ask her this. So I'm going to ask you too. Would you be on an AllStar season if they had one?
If I'm not on Drag Race first? No, I'm just kidding.
God!
I can't believe I fucking just said that. No, I would be on an AllStar season. Because now I know who Zenon is, right? You know, like, if you look at all my different things, I think I had really good ideas. I definitely could have... I definitely think that I could have like altered some certain things, but like they were also like different. Like now I think there would be a through line of knowing who Zenon is in terms of being present and competing, because like I have this concept of who I am now.
That makes a lot of sense, actually, because I was in at Austin Drag Festival, they have shuttles, and I was in the car with Sugar Bakers and Ruthie. And I was asking Vivian, again, in front of them. No, I decided to ask the Sugar Bakers in front of me and Vivian. I was like, so Sugar Bakers, because everybody keeps talking about it, are you guys ever going to have an All-Stars? Because you guys never say yes or no whether or not you want to do that. And they're just like, like, because I can't give anything away on the podcast. They're just like, and they kind of said some things. But then Ruthie goes, she's like, oh, Coco, if we did that, honey, like, the reason you don't know about it is because you would have never been on it. I know.
Shade. The caucasity.
I was like, oh my God, how dare she come for me so correctly? I mean, when you think about it, though, like, to have an all-star season of Camp Waikiki, there technically would have to be 5 seasons out, because you would need... Well, like, you need, like, at least a few seasons to have, like, a good number of campers to choose through who are, like, fan favorites and whatever like that. Because you can't just bring back everybody from every season. You have to, like, pick and choose at least 2 people from a season. And, like, so currently on TV right now, on Out TV, there's only 3 seasons. And so that, like, if you pick 2 people from every season, it's only 6 campers. That's not enough, right?
I think that there would be... Well, I mean, if you look at some of the things from the other TV show that's on, there have been campers there have been like 4 contestants from one season. Like, so who knows? I don't know. True. We'll see what they would do.
Well, the funny thing is, I don't know, I have really, so now that we're all older, because when I was on the show, I was because I'm 35 now, so I was like 32, 33 at the time. And I still, like, 32, 33, but I will tell you right now, ladies and gents, you feel like you are in your 20s a little bit still. And, like, I was feeling fine. I could do all the stuff. And now, like, things crack, things hurt. Like, I'm just like, but the funny thing is I know that Kitty, letter ATX, is 877 years old. And, like, she did all of those things. And so I can't really complain because she did all of those things.
No, excuse me. I was the one that was doing all the rowing in that mother tucking boat. She did none of it. Don't even bring that up.
And actually, was Kitty the one of the people who could do the high ropes course or could not do the high ropes
She did
course?
it.
She did it, but also
She tried. I don't remember if she did it.
she is ex-military, and I throw that out there because like Kitty
She's
is
a beast.
She is a beast, and she's like a leather daddy a little bit, and like so she like that was not necessarily super hard for. I mean, it probably was hard for her because she's old as dirt, but like it just I don't know. It's just it's just interesting. That was Zenon sneezing into one of my towels.
A wet towel.
Wet towel, yes.
Now I have the essence of holiday.
That's what I'm gonna call my perfume, the essence of holiday.
The essence.
Oh my god, you're so stupid.
There's a little bit of sugar plum fairy. Oh no, there's the gunpowder from the fireworks. All the different holidays are coming through.
Oh,
That's what
I
you
feel
smell
you.
like. Fireworks and fairy dust.
Well, and you
and
still have to
sugar
go beat
plum.
that mud too. So
I
you're
do.
gonna just like waft it all over me. And by the way, like Coco Jem Holiday is gorgeous, so it's fine. So I guess my last question for you is actually there's 2 questions left, but if you had to get into a bar fight, and you needed 2 people who are your Camp Wanakiki siblings, and they can be from any currently out season, who would you have on your side and why to win the fight?
I think I would have Diana Fire as one of them. A lot because she's real good with tools.
God, she is creative with those.
She's real good at making glory holes.
She's real good at making lots of things.
So I think Diana Fire would absolutely be one. And then, oh my gosh. I think another one would. Oh, okay. Blackout drunk Debbie Fox. That's who it would be. Like, she'd have to be completely wasted in order for it to be like to count. So like.
I love me.
But if it would be from a Caesar from 3, I think Bulimian specifically because she has to deal with all the rowdy people in Texas, and getting drunk, and so I think she would be a perfect one. Oh, but also America Powers, like
America Powers would be
oh
good.
my god, yeah. Anyway, I would choose a lot of people. I would just make them fight for me, and I'd be like getting in the Uber on the way home.
Tea.
I'd text them later. Who won, by the way? How's my honor? Has it been dishonored? I don't know.
I would actually. The funny thing is, I didn't actually because I asked this question to Vivian too. I think I would literally one of them. It would be Alexis Bevels. I would, and the reason is like no, I just can't see anybody effing with her.
That's true.
Like I just can't see anybody like really stepping up to her, and she just not immediately taking them down. Like because she's super kind, she's super sweet, but she also just has an air of her like just don't f with her. Like so, I think she would be one of mine, honestly.
Yeah.
Like I just see that for her. And the other person that I kind of went on my side just because I work with her a lot now in Portland is I would kind of want Claire on my side a little bit because Claire is
she's an industrial little fucker.
She's an industrial little fucker. Like I literally every time I fight with Claire, and I fight with Claire often, by the way, because we butt heads like crazy, and every time we get into a disagreement, like she just doesn't back down. Like she's just like she would whoop my ass in a parking lot if she so chose. Like it just kills me.
Oh yes, you are 100% correct. I mean, there are so many people. It would be a hard one to fight because like everyone has their own things that they would be good at. Like Ivana would just like kill people with the cackle that she has.
I know.
Like
She's so good.
it's wild. So many crazy things would happen.
So what is something that you would want to leave the listeners with? Like something you want to promote or something that you would like to leave with them and something they need to think about?
Ooh.
I know.
Speaking of one of those inspirational moments, am I right? I would say the thing that I want to leave with the people is that in 2019, in March, the world ended as we knew it.
Right.
And with that, the normal ended with it. And so normal is gone. Normal is dead. And after the pandemic, I continued to go on to lose 100 pounds, move back to New York, and now I'm a full-time drag queen living in New York City. And I want everyone to know that their dreams are fully capable of happening and coming true, but you have to be the ones to make them come true.
Yeah.
And if you want to create a new normal, you have every single capability and fiber of your being to be able to do it. So do it.
Yeah.
Build
Absolutely.
your new normal.
Absolutely. I love that. So then the other thing is, just say your social media. By the way, as everybody knows, like I always include pictures and the social media information online. But for those of you who don't get to our website, Zenon, if you want to say what your social media is so the kids can follow you.
Yes, you can find me on Scruff at Dom Top for you. You can find me.
I love a lying bottom.
Oh no ma'am, there's no lying about it. And you can find me on Venmo at Tip Zenon, TIPZENON, because it's Zenon with a Z, not Zenon with an X, because Zenon with a Z goes Z, not X.
The noise. It's almost an ASMR. I was like,
yes.
It's not
So yes, as a reminder, TIPZENON, and you can find me on Instagram at Zenon with a Z, ZENONWITHAZ. Because so often people used to call me by my Instagram handle, which was as Zenon TV, and so people would say, "Oh, your name is as Zenon."
Oh.
No, it's not.
Oh, wow. So wait, what is it
it was
now?
the worst. Bushwig. When I performed at Bushwig, they called me as Zenon TV, and I was like, "That is not my name."
Yeah. Oh God, I get that.
And then, so yeah, it's Zenon with a Z is my name, and so like because it's just Zenon and. It's not Xena, Warrior Princess, as much as I love her. She's great. And I'm actually going to have... I have a Broadway designer making an outfit for me right now that is like, what would it look like if Xena, Warrior Princess was transported in time to be an 80s female wrestler? I'm having that outfit made for me, and I'm very excited about it. Yes.
Love that.
But that's my Instagram handle is Zenon with a Z. ZENON with a Z.
That's so cool.
I'm so close to 5,000 followers.
Oh, are you really?
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I actually, Vivian was saying that she's like getting close to like 3 or 4, something like that. And I was like, I lost 500 followers recently because I did something silly. I talk too much on the internet, and people don't like that, and then they'll unfollow me. But that's congratulations. That's awesome. That's
Thank
so
you
cool.
so much.
Oh, also, she has merch available on dragqueenmerch.com.
I sure do. You can get the shirt that I'm wearing now.
Yeah, it's a beautiful
Listeners.
shirt. I don't know who the hell it is on the shirt, but it has her name next to it. Oh my goodness. So thank you everybody for listening. This has been an interview with Zenon TV, who currently lives in New York. And then also keep in mind that they have all their social media if you want to book them to come to your cities, because I have a lot of drag artists who listen to this podcast. They are super entertaining. You can follow, you can look at them on my website at gemofasecretpodcast.com, and which will have links to all of their social media, just in case you want to get a little closer eye with the person I've been staring across the table from for the last 50 minutes. So we have to go get our faces beat for our show that we have later. So
remember, I am not cheap, but I am affordable.
She's absolutely cheap. Say bye to the kids, Zenon.
Bye, kids.
Bye.
This has been another episode of A Gem of a Secret podcast. The hosts of A Gem of a Secret podcast are Donna and Coco Jem Holiday. You can follow Donna at Donatella_MySecrets on Instagram.
You may follow Coco Jem Holiday at Coco Jem Holiday on Instagram. Original music by Touche Douche and Party Favors. You can follow them respectively at Touche Likes Beef and Party Favors Music on Instagram. For more content, follow them online at www.agemofasecretpodcast.com. That is www.agemofasecretpodcast.com. AJEM of a secret podcast.com.